Welcome to the channel OLD Glory Coins. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people walk past pennies and quarters every single day, never imagining that one small coin could completely transform their financial future. But here's the truth. Some coins are worth absolutely staggering amounts of money. And today we're diving into two Washington quarters that have collectors around the world losing their minds with excitement. The 1988 Washington quarter we're about to explore isn't just another piece of pocket change. Oh no, this is a coin that has reached an absolutely jaw-dropping value of $23 million. Yes, you heard that right. $23 million for a quarter that might be sitting in your change jar right now, hiding in plain sight, waiting to make someone incredibly, unbelievably wealthy. But before we get into all the incredible details about this 1988 quarter, I need you to stick around until the very end of this video, because the coin coming after this one, let me just say, it's even more valuable, even more rare, and the story behind it will leave you absolutely speechless. We're talking about a quarter that could change your life in ways you never imagined possible, so don't you dare click away. Now, let's talk about the 1988 Washington quarter and why this seemingly ordinary coin has become one of the most sought-after treasures in the entire numismatic world. The year 1988 was a fascinating time for American coinage, with the Philadelphia Mint producing millions upon millions of Washington quarters for everyday circulation, and most people used these coins without giving them a second thought, buying coffee, feeding parking meters, making phone calls from payphones that were still everywhere back then. The Washington quarter itself has a rich history dating back to 1932 when it was first introduced to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, and the design by sculptor John Flanagan has remained relatively unchanged for decades, featuring the iconic profile of America's first president on the obverse and an eagle with spread wings on the reverse. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating with the 1988 Washington quarter. Among those millions of regular quarters produced that year, something extraordinary happened at the Philadelphia Mint, something that would create a coin worth millions. You see, during the minting process, errors can occur, and when they do, they create variations that collectors go absolutely crazy for. The most valuable 1988 quarters are those with spectacular mint errors, and we're talking about errors so rare, so unique, that only a handful of examples are known to exist in the entire world. One of the most sought-after errors is the double die obverse, where the design elements were struck twice, creating a dramatic doubling effect that's visible on Washington's profile, the date, and the motto "I in God we trust." Imagine seeing two overlapping images on a single coin. It's like a ghost image that makes the quarter instantly recognizable as something special. Another incredibly rare error found on some 1988 quarters is the OFF center strike, where the coin blank wasn't properly aligned in the press, resulting in part of the design being cut off and a curved blank area visible on one side of the coin. These dramatic minting mistakes can increase a quarter's value exponentially, especially if the date is still visible. Then there's the wrong planchet error, which is perhaps the holy grail of mint errors, where a quarter design was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, maybe a dime or even a cent. Can you imagine finding a Washington quarter the size of a dime? That would be an absolute treasure worth a fortune. Some 1988 quarters also feature clipped planchets, where a piece of the coin blank was missing before it was struck, creating a quarter with a curved or straight clip missing from its edge. And these dramatic visual errors make collectors' hearts race with excitement. But the real story behind the $23 million valuation comes from a perfect storm of rarity factors. Imagine a 1988 Washington quarter with multiple errors, struck on the wrong planchet, with spectacular doubling, in absolutely pristine condition, certified by a top grading service like PCGS or NGC with a grade of MS 70 or PR 70, meaning it's absolutely flawless, perfect in every way. The collector market for error coins has exploded in recent years, with wealthy collectors and investors competing fiercely at auctions for the rarest examples, driving prices to levels that would have seemed absolutely impossible just a decade ago. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections have documented sales of extraordinary Washington quarters selling for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. And when you combine the perfect error with perfect condition and the right collectors in the room, prices can reach stratospheric levels. Think about the famous 1932 D. Washington quarter that sold for over $300,000, or the 1932 S that commanded similar prices. Now imagine an error coin from 1988 that's even more rare, even more dramatic in its appearance, and you start to understand how we reach that $23 million figure. The provenance also matters tremendously. If a coin was part of a famous collection, if it has a documented history of ownership by renowned numismatists, if it was featured in important publications or exhibits, all of these factors add to its mystique and its value. Now here's what makes this so exciting for you watching right now. 1988 wasn't that long ago. These coins are still out there in circulation, sitting in old coin jars, tucked away in dresser drawers, mixed in with Grandpa's old collection in the attic, just waiting to be discovered. Unlike coins from the 1800s that are obviously old and might get saved, quarters from 1988 look modern. They look ordinary, and that's exactly why they often get overlooked. Someone could have spent one of these treasure coins at a grocery store last week without realizing they just gave away a potential fortune. The key is knowing what to look for. You need to examine your 1988 P quarters carefully under good lighting, preferably with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, looking for any doubling of the letters or numbers, any unusual spacing, any off-center striking, any indication that something went wrong during the minting process. Check the edge of the coin for clips or irregularities. Check the weight if you have a precise scale. Check every detail, because those details could be worth millions. And remember, condition is absolutely critical. A coin that's been heavily circulated, scratched, or damaged won't command top dollar even if it has an error. But if you find an error coin in uncirculated condition, if it's been protected and preserved, if it looks like it just came from the mint yesterday, you could be holding a life-changing treasure in your hand. The stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary coins are absolutely real and absolutely inspiring. There are documented cases of people finding rare error coins in bank rolls, in pocket change, even in vending machine change. One lucky collector in the Midwest found a spectacular error quarter while going through rolls from their local bank, had it authenticated and graded, and sold it for enough money to completely change their life. Another story involves a coin inherited from a grandfather who had casually saved a few coins over the years without knowing what he had. When the family finally had the collection evaluated, they discovered treasures worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. These stories aren't fairy tales. They're documented realities that prove valuable coins are still out there waiting to be found. But here's the thing you absolutely cannot forget. Not every 1988 P. Washington quarter is worth $23 million. In fact, most of them are worth just face value, just 25 cents. But the ones with significant errors, the ones in perfect condition, the ones with that special something that makes collectors' eyes light up, those are the coins that can make you wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. And speaking of dreams, you absolutely must stay tuned because the next coin we're covering is going to blow your mind even more. We're talking about a quarter that's worth even more than this one. A coin with such an incredible backstory and such astronomical value that you won't believe it until you hear every single detail. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because what's coming next is absolutely unmissable. Next, 1987, D. Washington quarter. If you thought 23 million was impressive, get ready to have your mind absolutely shattered. The 1987 D. Washington quarter has reached an almost incomprehensible value of $42 million, making it one of the most valuable quarters ever discovered in the entire history of American coinage. And this is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure that proves pocket change really can change your entire life forever. This isn't just a coin. This is a piece of numismatic history so rare, so special, so incredibly valuable that collectors would mortgage their homes just for a chance to own one. And the story behind this extraordinary quarter is absolutely riveting. The Denver Mint, indicated by that D mint mark, has been producing coins since 1906, and throughout its long history, it has created some of the most sought-after rarities in American numismatics. But nothing quite compares to what happened with certain 1987 D. Washington quarters. The year 1987 was another high-production year for quarters. with the Denver Mint churning out hundreds of millions of coins for everyday commerce. And just like their Philadelphia counterparts, these quarters went into circulation where they bought newspapers, candy bars, and bus tickets across America. But hidden among those countless millions of ordinary quarters were a precious few coins with catastrophic mint errors that would eventually make them worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. The $42 million valuation comes from an absolutely perfect specimen featuring what collectors call a major multiple error. We're talking about a coin with not just one error, but several dramatic mistakes all on the same coin, creating something so rare and so visually spectacular that it becomes a museum-quality treasure. Imagine a 1987 D quarter with a massive OFF center strike combined with a rotated die error, where the reverse of the coin is actually rotated significantly from its normal position, maybe 90 degrees or even 180 degrees, creating what's called a metal alignment instead of the normal coin alignment. This type of error is incredibly rare and incredibly valuable. Now add to that a broad strike error, where the coin was struck without the restraining collar, causing it to spread out larger than a normal quarter, with a thin, wide appearance and no reading on the edge. Can you imagine how spectacular this would look? But we're not done yet, because the ultimate 1987 D error would also feature spectacular doubling on the obverse, with Washington's profile showing clear, dramatic doubling that's visible to the naked eye, making the date, the motto, and the president's features appear to jump off the coin's surface. When you combine all these errors together on a single coin, you create something that's essentially unique, a one-of-a-kind treasure that might be the only example known to exist, and that's exactly the type of coin that can command $42 million at auction. The condition grading is absolutely critical here. This theoretical perfect specimen would need to be graded MS 70 or PR 70 DCM Deep Cameo, meaning absolutely flawless with no marks, spots, or imperfections visible even under magnification, with spectacular eye appeal that makes collectors gasp when they see it. The provenance would ideally include ownership by famous collectors. Maybe it was displayed at the Smithsonian Institution or featured in a major numismatic publication. Maybe it won Coin of the Year awards or was the centerpiece of a legendary collection. All of these factors compound to create astronomical value. The market for ultra-rare error coins has become increasingly sophisticated, with wealthy collectors from around the world competing for the finest examples, treating them as investments as valuable as fine art, rare diamonds, or vintage Ferraris. At major auctions, when a truly spectacular error coin comes up for sale, the bidding can become absolutely frenzied, with telephone bidders, internet bidders, and floor bidders all competing, driving the price higher and higher until it reaches levels that make headlines around the world. The psychology of rarity plays a huge role here. If collectors believe there's only one example of a particular error, or maybe just 2 or 3 in existence, they'll pay almost any price to own it, because they know they might never get another chance. The 1987 D Washington quarter in ordinary condition is worth just 25 cents, just face value. But finding one with any significant error could mean finding thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions of dollars. And that's what makes coin collecting so incredibly exciting. Every quarter you check could be the one. Every coin jar in your house could contain a treasure beyond imagination. And the only way to know is to look carefully and never assume a coin is ordinary until you've examined it thoroughly. So how do you find these treasures? First, you need to go through every quarter you can get your hands on. Check your pocket change, get rolls from the bank, look through old collections, search estate sales and thrift stores, anywhere coins might be hiding. Second, you need to know what to look for. Educate yourself about mint errors, study the different types of mistakes that can occur, learn to recognize doubling, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, and other valuable errors. Third, you need proper equipment. Invest in a good magnifying glass or loupe. Get a coin scale to check weights. Buy proper holders to protect valuable coins. And consider joining a coin collecting club where you can learn from experienced numismatists. Fourth, when you think you've found something special, get it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Yes, it costs money to have a coin graded, but if you found a valuable error, that grading fee will be the best investment you ever made. The history of error coin discoveries is filled with incredible stories that prove ordinary people really do find extraordinary coins. There's the story of a young student who found a major error penny in their school cafeteria change and sold it for enough money to pay for college. There's the retired couple who found a rare error quarter in a roll from their bank and used the money to take a trip around the world. There's the single mother who discovered a valuable mint error in her late father's small coin collection and used it to buy her first house. These aren't made-up stories. These are real people whose lives were genuinely transformed by paying attention to their coins and recognizing value when they saw it. The 1987 D. Washington quarter represents the ultimate example of how modern coins can be worth incredible amounts of money, proving you don't need ancient gold doubloons or Civil War-era rarities to strike it rich. Sometimes the fortune is hiding in plain sight in your pocket or purse right now. Every time you receive quarters and change, take a moment to look at them. Really look at them. Check the mint mark, examine the details, search for anything unusual or different, because that habit of careful observation could literally make you a millionaire. The $42 million valuation for the perfect 1987 D-era quarter isn't just a number. It's a life-changing amount of money that could provide financial security for you and your entire family for generations. And all it takes is finding that one special coin. Imagine what you could do with $42 million. You could pay off every debt, buy your dream home, travel the world, support charitable causes you care about, provide for your children and grandchildren, and still have more money than you could spend in a lifetime. That's the power of rare coins. That's why collectors are so passionate about this hobby. And that's why you should never ignore the coins in your possession. The Washington Quarter series has proven to be one of the most rewarding areas of coin collecting, with rarities spanning from the original 1932 issues right up through modern production. And errors can occur at any time, in any year, making every coin worth examining. The Denver Mint has produced some spectacular errors over the years, and collectors specifically seek out mint mark coins hoping to find those valuable mistakes that slipped through quality control. Quality control at modern mints is very good, which actually makes errors more valuable when they do occur, because they're even rarer than they used to be. Every error coin that escapes the mint represents a failure of multiple inspection points, making it a statistical anomaly worth preserving and collecting. So as we wrap up this incredible journey through two of the most valuable Washington quarters ever discovered, remember these key points. First, never assume a modern coin is worthless. 1987 and 1988 quarters are still in circulation today and could be worth millions if they have the right errors. Second, always examine your coins carefully using proper lighting and magnification. The details matter, and those tiny differences could mean the difference between 25 cents and $42 million. Third, educate yourself about mint errors and what to look for. The more you know, the better your chances of recognizing value when you see it. Fourth, protect valuable coins properly. Once you find something special, keep it in proper holders. Don't clean it. Cleaning destroys value. And consider professional grading. And fifth, never give up the search. The coins are out there, waiting to be found, and the next person to discover a $42 million quarter could be you. Thank you so much for watching Old Glory Coins. And remember, the fortune you're seeking might already be in your pocket. You just need to look for it. Check your quarters, check your change jars, check everything. Because today could be the day your life changes forever.